morning.
Good morning.
For the beauty of the earth, this spinning blue-green ball, yes, Gaia, mother of everything, we walk gently across your back to come together again in this place, to remember how we can live, to remember who we are, to create how we will be. Gaia, our home, the lap in which we live. Welcome us. Now I invite you into a quieter space of worship as we join our hearts in a century. Spirit of love and life, you who animate and illuminate all people, all creatures, all things. Be with us today and every day. Be with us in this hard season of late winter. Help us to see the beauty in the bees. Help us to find the signs of spring. Help us to keep hope in our hearts always. And help our hearts to melt and find new reserves of love and connection. Help us to reach out to others here and throughout all the places in our lives. We remember the slain children and adults gunned down this week in Florida. Please be with their mourning families and with all whose hearts are oppressed by this terrible tragedy. And help us to find the perseverance and the fortitude to do what needs to be done, to change our society so that no one has to lose a loved one in this way in our country again. For all these things and all the things in our hearts that we have not spoken here, we ask for love and guidance. May it be so. Amen. When I was a girl and difficult things would happen, my father had a favorite saying, one that induced many an eye roll in his two children. It was not particularly original, clever, or particularly unique, and I'm sure you've heard it before. Whenever I was struggling with anything, wanted to quit, take the easy way out, or just sit down and cry, I was sure to hear these annoying words. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. For a long time, I really didn't understand the saying at all, because it sounded to me like the tough were running away. They were getting going. They were moving out, taking off, hightailing it, heading for the hills. Only later did I understand that getting going meant getting busy, solving the problem, bending circumstances to your iron will, subduing the wilderness, prevailing. After we moved to Alaska, when I was 12, he added a new Alaskan twist to this tired old exhortation. Now it was, you've got to stay on that perseverance trail. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. See, when I studied Alaskan history, we learned about the famous Perseverance Trail in Juneau. The Perseverance Trail began as a footpath used by Alaska Native people, the Tlingit and the Haida. But when gold was discovered by that displaced French-Canadian Joe Juneau in the 1860s, the trail became the road to riches untold, or so thought thousands of men who left their lives in the lower 48 in order to pursue the dream of instant wealth. It's kind of funny holding up men who were leaving their old lives, who were seeking to get rich quick, as models of perseverance. But there's no doubt they were there in Southeast Alaska to tame the wilderness, subdue it to their will, and make it pay their way. And undoubtedly, it was not easy, and many of them did persevere. They ripped the gold out of the mountainside. They built the trail into one of the first roads in the state, and they mined that vein for all it was worth. At the height of the operation in the 1930s, over 1,000 men were employed in that endeavor in the Perseverance mine. It's a very American story, isn't it? Most of us come from people who left someplace else, and we rightly hold them up with pride. They were dreamers, and they were doers. They had that kind of grit that gets you places. They wanted a better life, and they were willing to undergo the undeniable violence of being ripped from the fabric of their old lives. Well, let's be clear and let's be accurate in talking about this. We are not simply a nation of immigrants. There were people here already when these newcomers arrived, and there were other people who brought here by coercion through the unspeakable violence of the horror of the slave trade. So not everyone came here seeking a new and better life. Just want to hold that up. But many of our ancestors, including mine, immigrated here for one reason or another. Sure, they were running towards something, but they were running away from something too. They were lovers of leaving. When I was even littler, maybe 5 or 6, I always remember my mother telling my brother and me, "Stop making so much noise. You're making me jump out of my own skin." In my child's mind, I used to picture my mother literally jumping out of her skin. Like maybe there was a zipper on it or something, and she unzipped it and just jumped clear. Moving so fast, she actually left herself behind. I pictured the skin just kind of shriveling up after she was out of it, just falling to the floor like a dress that suddenly lost its shape when it had no person inside it anymore. See, my mother, too, was a lover of leaving. From a long line of them, from folks who came over whenever and however from the old countries, which, as near as we can tell, were France, Ireland, and Scotland. From them to the fable of the great-great-great, or maybe the great-great-grandfather who supposedly walked off the reservation in Oklahoma, never to connect with his people again after he passed for white. And then on to my grandfather, Willard, who during the Great Depression rode the rails with his brother Charlie from Arkansas to California to find some place where the jobs grew on trees. So when my mother, this jumper out of her skin, met and married a military man, my father, the tough guy who got going, their crossings of the continent got even more fast and furious. And so my brother and I were born in Washington, D.C., but then we quickly moved out to California before either one of us were out of diapers, and so on and so forth. The family tree at this point is more of a family tumbleweed than a mighty oak. Needless to say, we never stayed in any one place long enough to put down viable roots. So now, when somebody asks me where I'm from, I have to do a lot of quick calculations. Are they asking me where I live now, or where I was born, or where I spent my childhood? Are they asking me where I lived the longest, or where my people come from? Because each one of those has a separate answer, and some of those have multiple answers. Each one is a story of somebody who just had to go. Now, if my family were unique, I wouldn't bother to share this story with you, but if anything, ours is an uber-American story. Maybe we had a few more violent geographic dislocations than your average family, but it's a matter of degree, not of kind. From my family culture, I learned that there were two approaches to your problems in life. You either bent circumstances to your will, subdued the wilderness, triumphed over destiny, over adversity, or else, if it all got to be too much, you shut it all down, you cut ties, and you took off down the road. And there was always a new place on down the road. Fresh territory, a new start. Well, folks, that way isn't working so well for us anymore, is it? We're running out of fresh territory. You see, we've mined it, we've used it, we've drilled it, we've polluted it, and we've sapped it. And when I start to think about the mess that we're in, well, I alternate between two very familiar states of being. In the first scenario, I say, we've got to fix this. We've got to get going here. Somebody had better do something. Damn it, we can't give in to childish emotions. Let's be logical here. If we put our heads together, I'm sure we can conquer this problem. Stop using plastic. Stop driving cars. If people only had some discipline, we could work our way out of this mess. What is wrong with them? And in the second scenario, I am so overcome with despair for our world and with shame at my part in the problem that I want to jump out of my skin. I want to run away, bury my head in the sand, eat a whole lot of junk food, stick my fingers in my ears, go on a shopping spree, drink a whole bottle of wine, take a tropical vacation, lie in bed all day with my head under the covers, and binge watch all my favorite escapist TV programs. Does any of this ring a bell? And neither one of these approaches is going to do a darn thing to help our people, our planet, our world. So how do we find a new way of persevering? A way that is not about domination or control of resources. A way that lives in harmony with all things. Well, it will not be easy. We know this, don't we? It has never been easy. But we do have some guidance. Carolee Sanchez is a thinker and a writer from the Pueblo tribe of New Mexico. In her essay, The Beauty Way, she writes of a time in the long ago history of the peoples of this continent, one that survives in the oral histories of multiple tribes. It was a time when the people became greedy and sought to have more than they needed. As she describes it, they overplanted the soils, using the technologies of agriculture in a way that was not sacred, was not in harmony with the earth. The soil was depleted, the crops failed, and many people starved. But as Sanchez describes it, the tribes learned the lesson of this agricultural disaster, realizing that they must change their ways of raising food. From that time on, crops were rotated properly, giving the soil and the land the proper proportions of nutrients to grow food. And in addition to making changes to their way of planting, the people promised to remember the time of disaster and promised always to use their knowledge of agriculture in a sacred way going forward. The people and the earth again thrived, and the tribes never forgot the lessons of that hard time. As Sanchez puts it, all technologies are simply tools, and tools can be used in a helpful or harmful manner, with sacred intention or without it. We must now persevere in a new way, like the ancient tribes of this continent. We must find the strength and the will to abandon our addiction to technologies that we've been using in a reckless, thoughtless manner. Joanna Macy is an environmental activist and a writer who wrote with physician Chris Johnstone a book called Active Hope: How to Face the Mess We're In Without Going Crazy. And boy, did that title speak to me. Macy's prescription for those of us who are jumping out of our skin is this: find compassion for yourself and others. Take a deep breath. Allow yourself to feel all of your feelings. Sit with them and learn to accept them, not run away from your difficult emotions. Then, connect to something larger than yourself. Find and locate yourself in the interdependent web of all existence. Feel the joy of that connection. Feel the love for our planet. The love which all of us have, no matter how we've disconnected from it. And let that love and that joy guide your actions. Macy and Sanchez are among the writers who are beginning to find a new way through the wilderness, one of connection to the earth, the connection that runs straight through every human heart. Now, in the spirit of their writings, I would like us to take a moment to breathe together in this sacred space. Please get comfortable and close your eyes if you're willing or able, or just lower the focus of your gaze if you prefer. And now, please picture a beautiful place on the earth, a place that you know well and love. Picture the natural elements of this environment. How do you feel when you're there? What do you love about this precious place? What do you see before you? Are there trees? Are there woods? Are there rocks? Is there water? What do you hear? Do you hear bees buzzing? Birds singing? The sounds of a bubbling brook? What do you feel on your skin? Is there a light breeze? Do you feel the warmth of the sun? Is there rain or snow? And what do you smell? Can you smell the smells of running water? Do you smell wildflowers in bloom, pine trees giving off the scent of their needles? Feel yourself in this sacred space. What is it that you love about this precious place? What would you do to save it? Now take 3 deep breaths as you continue to connect to this beautiful place. And with the second breath, begin to widen your focus to the entire region where your place exists. And with your third breath, take in your focus, bring your focus to the entire continent, and then to the entire hemisphere. Continue to zoom out to our entire precious, beautiful blue planet. Remember, you are not separate from it, but are an essential part of it, along with every tree, every bird, every fish, and every flower. I'd like for you to remember this feeling of connection, of love and joy for this sacred space. And next time you feel hopeless, disconnected, or exasperated, reconnect. Return to the beauty of this place. Love it. And through that love, vow to persevere in hope for the future. A future that is not written in stone, but is every moment being written here by us in the ever-changing earth. And now, if you'd like, please open your eyes and return to us in the sanctuary. How did that feel? Well, the Perseverance Trail is still there, overlooking the city of Juneau, Alaska, a small city that now serves as the capital of the whole state. It's a tourist town now, one that hosts hundreds, maybe thousands of cruise ships every summer, all packed with people seeking an encounter with nature, however brief and fleeting. The scars on the land are still there too, a testament to the boom and bust cycles of our capitalist approach to the management of Alaska's abundant natural resources. The rusty ruins of the old mining operations dot the landscape and provide historical fascination for locals and tourists who wander over the footpath looking for adventure, exercise, new sights to see. Perhaps they are also running away from themselves, collecting experiences about which they can brag to their friends back home. We saw the original site of the Perseverance mine. George got a picture. It was amazing. You see, Joe Juneau, that explorer who founded the mine, he's dead and gone. Sure, they named the town after him, but very few people remember who he was or what he did. The miners who traveled that pass are all dead and gone and forgotten. The mines have long been closed. The road that used to take cars into the mining district no longer exists. But the trail itself, the trail is active. The trail is still alive. The trail is still a conduit of people and animals, of seeds and storm waters. It is the trail that has persevered. It has recovered its beauty. It is engaged in its own reclamation. Carolee Sanchez says that we must see the beauty of a place in order to truly connect with it and learn to care for it. We cannot continue to focus on just the things that are wrong in our world without understanding the goodness and the beauty that is still here. If we do continue to focus on the negative, on the problems, we will continue to want to jump out of our skins. Instead, it's imperative that we take as teachers those beings that continue to endure and love the world, even in the face of our desecration. Our Ours is no caravan of despair. So I've rewritten my father's saying. Now, I say, when the going gets tough, the tough remain. The tough endure. The tough continue to open their hearts to love and connection. The tough find love and joy and hope. The tough give themselves again and again to the people and the places in which their lives unfold. The trees persevere, sinking their roots deep into the soil. The plants persevere, sending out green shoots each spring in an act of beauty and hope. The voles and the shrews and the foxes persevere, using only what they need to sustain them, living well in their own skins and in close connection with their families, burrowing deep in the ground and trusting that it will hold them over the long winter. And through all times of increase and decrease, through all seasons of light and darkness, the earth perseveres, sheltering all her children in her big, strong body. And so we must learn to persevere in a new way. This planet is our home. We have no other. Let us stop separating ourselves from the family of all things. Let us stop running away from ourselves. Let us stop jumping out of our skins. Let us learn to stay and abide, to love and care for our continent, our planet, our home.
Join us for worship every Sunday at 10 a.m. at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua, a welcoming congregation. We are located at 3024 Cooley Road, 4 miles west of South Main Street, Canandaigua, just north of the intersection with Routes 5 and 20. Look for the blue signs just before the turn. Your comments about this program or questions about the church are welcome at 585-396-1370 or at our website, www.canandaiguauu.org. Producer and editor, Daniel Brigham.